Hello, this is a very quick introduction to the use of Wolfram Mathematica. This is a very informal and short video. Let me start by clicking on New Document, at which point I get this. I'd like to maybe increase the magnification because if I type in here 1 plus 1, this is too small to read. I'll just click on maybe 200%. I can also enlarge the screen. And then I'm trying a very simple thing, just 1 plus 1, right? And you can see here that once I've written something, there is this cell that the calculation is taking place over this one single cell. If you're interested in doing this calculation, you can either click on enter, right? So I press with the cursor anywhere here and I press on enter and I get, now I can see that this was my input, this is my output. It says here between brackets number 1 because this is the very first calculation that I'm doing in this session. If you're using a laptop which has only a single enter key on your keyboard, then you'd need to press or click on, press shift enter together, right? Now, I think Mathematica is beautiful because you can do so many things. So, of course, you could do calculations. You could also do various forms of numerical analyses. So, for example, if I would like to, see what the value of pi being an irrational number, maybe I want to see the first 10 decimal places. So I can press on escape, and when I do so, I get these 3 short lines on top of each other. Then I press on the keyboard key, which is P, and then it shows here I could, if I'm interested in writing a pi, I could write this notation, or simply what I've done. I've pressed on escape, then I've pressed on P, and then I'm going to press on escape again, and this gives me pi. If at this point I decide to press on enter, it would tell me, well, pi is pi. Now, this is not really helpful. Mathematica, I would like to see some numerical value. So I use a command, one form or usually Mathematica commands take on the form of, starting with an uppercase letter. So numerical value would be n, then this is followed by square brackets, and I could type in p, right? And I could then maybe press on comma and then specify or define the number of decimal places I'm entering or interested in seeing, and then I press on enter and I get the first 10 values, right? Now, if I would like to copy this, maybe paste it here in a new cell. Remember that Mathematica works in cells, so this is a new cell. I can type in maybe 100, press again, and I get this new value. And I can keep on doing this. Let's see another form of commands. Maybe I would like to, maybe make a list of the powers of 2. So I can say table, right? And you can see as I'm typing in, it shows here the various options I could be using, right? So it just gives me options. I know my command is table, so I click on it and I have here my square brackets and I type in maybe 2, and then I would like to make 2 to the power of I, right? So I can either press on a keyboard combination, which you'll have to learn. It's a bit different if you're using a Mac or if you're using a Windows system. So my keyboard, I would press on this, this is Control 6 to get the power here, right? And then I would write a comma. And then I have a list such that I runs from maybe 0 to, again, 10, and I press on enter, right? Now, this is one way of getting the powers of 2. However, you could also have written it in a different way. So I can then type table, square brackets, and then 2. Maybe you forgot how to get the power. So if you go up here with your mouse, you can see that there is this window or a menu that's called palettes. So I'm going to click on it, and it says here Basic Math Assistant. And this is what I got, right? So I have this Basic Math Assistant, and I could then use it to get the power. So if I highlight this too and then press here or click here, now I can input this I, right? And of course you could input anything. It doesn't have to be an I. Maybe you could enter a K, right? And then you could specify that K runs from 1 to 10. Let me just close this, no longer needed. And if I'm within my cell here, if I have my cursor anywhere and I press on enter, I get the same list as above, right? Now let's say that maybe we're interested in plotting something. So I'm going to actually use the function plot, right? Remember that all Mathematica commands start with an uppercase letter, and then you type in within the command these square brackets. So you can maybe write sine. Sine itself is a command, so sine of x. And I would like to run this x. I have to specify, as I did here. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to specify x as something that runs from 0 to 2 pi. So remember how we get the pi? We can press on the escape button, then P, and then another escape button. And then anywhere, if my cursor is anywhere here, I can press on enter, and I get this plot. Now, as a matter of fact, I would like to not just see the axes, but I would like to have this framed. One way of doing so would be to keep adding on parts to this command. So I'm going to type in a comma here and then say frame. And then you can see out of the options I got, so I'm going to choose frame, and it automatically added this small arrow, and then I'm going to write true and press enter. And now I have my frame. I'd also like to add frame labels, so I'm going to write another comma and then frame label, and then I'm going to highlight this placeholder and type in my curly brackets, and then parenthesis, comma, another parenthesis, and then maybe right here x, and then maybe f of x, and then press on enter. And you see now I can see my x and I can see my f of x. But maybe you want to do more than just simple plotting. Maybe you want to make a very nice curve to submit in your assignment or maybe a research paper. And you're pretty sure that this is something that can be achieved within Mathematica, but you're not sure what to do. So the way to do this would be to highlight your command. So this is what I did, and then press F1. Now, if you're using a Windows machine, you could probably find the F1 button ready on your keyboard. If you're using a Mac, you might want to find a function button. You're going to click on that and then press on F1. Yeah, and this is going to open up a new window, which is Mathematica's help. This also can be magnified, so I get to the right part of the window here and change this into 200. This is how I like to look at my screen with pretty magnified text. And then it starts showing me this is your command. These are different forms of using the command. There's this details an option. If I press here, it will open up some more options I can read. And then this is where the true power of Mathematica help is, because you're seeing right then and there different uses of the function or the command, right? And not just seeing, you can actually make changes to it right here. So here I can maybe change this from 6 pi to only 4 pi and press enter, and directly you can see what is happening, right? And you can see different things. So what if I'm interested in plotting multiple functions within the same plot? So I can just list them here within a list, and you can see they're being included within a couple of curly braces. We've also seen the use of something called plot legends to see what is happening here. So if I click, maybe I change this into 3 pi, and then I press on enter, and automatically right then and there I see the updated form, right? You can see, you can keep on scrolling and seeing what is happening here. You can click on scope, see different options, labeling, for example, and legending, and it's all interactive. So I can change this, I can write function and press on enter, get updates on the spot. And I think this is amazing. This is really what I really love about using Mathematica. Okay, anyhow, so you could also do plots 3D. Let's have a quick look here. And yeah, if I run this, I get a plot which I can click on and move around and so on. We haven't also seen what happens when we actually click on this details and options. We have better explanation on what is happening, right? You can look at it, try different things with it. I think this is pretty nice. Okay. Um, so let me go back to here to this notebook. Mathematica files are called notebook, and the extension that you can use or save the file in is .nb, which is short for notebook. And for example, maybe I would like to try to get the integration of a very simple function of x bar 3. So I can either, write the word maybe integrate or int or look it up in the Mathematica help, or you can use shortcuts on your keyboard. So for example, I know that if I press on my keyboard the escape button, followed by the three letters INT, and then I press on escape again, I get the integration sign. So I'm going to write x, and then you can have this as x power 3, for example, and then I press on escape, and then I enter double D, and then another escape, and this is basically the integration of x power 3 with respect to x. If I now use the enter key, or if you're using a laptop which has a single enter key, then you need shift enter together. This gives you x power 4 divided by 4. You could also, maybe let's try to differentiate the function. One way of doing so would be, for example, to use the d function, which is differentiate. So I'm going to write here maybe the sine of x, and then I need to tell it this has to be done with respect to x, and I press enter, and you see we're getting a cosine of x. So you can either use commands, which using for example, differentiation is d. You could do the integration as int, or if you know the specific keyboard shortcuts, you can just use them to write in whatever you need, right? And I can, what else? I don't know. This was meant to be, or is meant to be, a very short and quick and concise intro to the basic usage of Mathematica. Uh, yeah, I just realized what I'd like to show you as one last thing. So maybe I would like to define a new function. So I'm going to write f, and it doesn't have to be f. It could be g, it could be anything, and then square brackets. And then within the square brackets, I'm going to choose a variable, for example, x, followed by a subscript, right? And then here, I have to input a colon and then an equal sign. And then I can write anything. So for example, this could be a simple quadratic expression. So this is x to the power of 2 plus 3x plus 9, for example. And if I press on enter, the function is now saved. This is what we're seeing, and I can use it. So I can say f of 0, for example, and I press on enter, just should give me a 9, and it does. If I type in f of 1, this is what I get, 13. Let me check. So 1 squared is 1, plus 3 by 1, this is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 9 is indeed 13, right? And for longer expressions that you'd like to see, or for whatever reason in terms of how you want to code it, you could actually type in f of 1 and check if this is actually equal to 13. So you would type in a couple of equal signs, and then type in 13 and press enter, and then it tells you true. However, if we copy this and we change the 13 into, I don't know, maybe 12, and now it tells you this is false, this is not true. We could, of course, combine different commands or nest them within one another. So I could say in table of f of I, and you know how table works, and then you define I running from 1 to maybe 3. You press on enter, and you get these 3 values. So we've basically evaluated the function f first time by having I is equivalent to 1, which is 13, then a second time where I is equals to 2, and a third time where I is equals to 27. So once again, this is meant to be a very simple and concise, short intro to the use of Wolfram Mathematica. If this is indeed helpful, maybe I could post, more like a second part or a third part, depending on students' needs. Thank you.